backing Buhari, Tinubu dug his political grave and enslaved the entire South politically. He who is the cause of another becoming powerful is ruined, because that predominancy has been brought about by astuteness or else by force. And both are distrusted by him who has been raised to power, Niccolo Machiavelli, the prince. When in 2015, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu decided to lead the Southwest into an alliance with the North to birth the All Progressive Alliance, APC, he did so evidently in the expectation that the two geopolitical regions will share power, inevitably to the exclusion of the Eastern Bloc, and ultimately that he or the Southwest will take power when the North completes two terms in 2023. It was a terrible miscalculation. Consider that politics and power play are about conspiracies and alliances, and it was well within Tinubu's right to do what he thought would be best advance his political interests, and by extension that of his region. But in the event, backing President Muhammadu Buhari, that's retired, Major General Buhari, retired, was cutting his nose to spite his face. Once Buhari took power in 2015, Tinubu's political career was in jeopardy. To successfully navigate Buhari's without bruises, the best he could have done was retire from active politics and assume the role of an elder statesman. He did not. He stayed on, wanting to be president and pushing hard to remain in the center of political discourse. But power is jealous, and if there is any holder of the highest office in the land who will tolerate a co-president, it is not Buhari. Things are beginning to unravel fast, very, very fast. Undoubtedly, without Tinubu and by extension the Southwest, Buhari could not have been president today. This is one fact that president's men would now dominate the political space and brook no opposition will hate to admit, but it remains true regardless. But being essentially Buhari's kingmaker, it was politically naivety to decide to hang around in the expectation that he would share power. The old Machiavellian advises that the prince must destroy the one who made him king. Reason, I'll tell you, because he could decide tomorrow to make another king. Of course, it should have been obvious to any discerning mind that in helping to make Buhari president, Tinubu was not only jeopardizing his political career, but also plunging the Southwest and by extension Southern Nigeria into political slavery, whose only parallel in the country political history is late Emeka Ojukwu leading the Igbo to war in 1967. As it concerns the Biafran War, blaming Ojukwu for going to war could earn you exile in the Igbo country, but truth be told, the war was avoidable and could have been avoided if Ojukwu had not been too stubborn to listen to the likes of Zik and other intellectuals who understood better international politics and understood diplomacy and know that blood is going to be shed for nothing. Great minds will die for nothing. This is not to say, however, that Ojukwu was not sufficiently provoked by the killings of the Igbos in the north in the aftermath of the July 1966 revenge coup that threw up Yakubu Gowon as head of state, and indeed the actions or inactions of Gowon-led federal side. Regardless, it was still in his hands to accept to fight or toe the path of diplomacy, which, given the circumstances, was the best option and the only way to win international support for his secession quest. In the event, he went to war, and he only succeeded in sacrificing more Igbos, more Biafrans, more of their lives, and weakening the Igbos politically. The consequence of that weakening is that it provided fertile ground for the emergence of hegemonic northern power. The imbalance so created is largely responsible for the crisis of Nigerian national identity. One mistake many Nigerians, particularly in the South, make is the assumption that the country is already formed and settled as a secular state. It is not the case. There is the ever-present quest to define the country, right, of course, from the 1804 jihad. Colonial rule put a stop to it. Then, in the post-war years, the Middle Belt soldiers who dominated the army acted as a wedge. Tinubu's alliance with Buhari has served to reenact that quest. Buhari is now apparently out to define the country. The Jagaban's political miscalculation could yet prove too costly. The old generals who I reckon understand this are already raising alarm, but of course, the odds of naive, ignorant online crowd of crumb eaters are blurring the resistance line. As it concerns the 2023 presidency, it should be clear to anyone with a functioning brain that President Muhammadu Buhari North has no intention of relinquishing power to the Southwest or any zone for that matter. What many may not have realized, however, is that for the next 3 decades, at least, if ever, and should Nigeria remain one, power will not leave the North. But in projecting, one must always leave space for the law of unintended consequences and the God factor. But given Buhari antecedents, was there any grounds for the Southwest particularly to have given him benefit of the doubt in 2015? Absolutely none, in my reckoning. However, it will appear that emotion rather than sound political calculation informed their support for Buhari in 2015. It was perhaps more of spite for the East than love for Buhari. I had been amazed when, in the heat of the moment in 2015, before the election, the news editor of many of the then media platform branded a fellow reporter who didn't buy into Buhari presidential project as a bloody bastard, who is following the Igbo people to betray the Southwest by supporting Jonathan. In the lead bar up to the 2019 polls, I had on several occasions engaged my landlord, according to the writer, a backer of Buhari's second term project, who loves to discuss politics on who between Atiku Abubakar and the president would make a better leader. My insistence was, of course, that Atiku would, after we exhausted all manner of issues he raised against the former vice president, he said finally that he would still back Buhari because Atiku was an Obo Igbo project, and that after Buhari, Yoruba would take power. After Yoruba, Hausa would take power again. According to him, we will be rotating it like that. Igbo people will never smell that place. I had more of pity for his ignorance. In 2003, Buhari joined presidential race. He did so apparently to stop the dead president Olusegun Obasanjo, not because Obasanjo had performed badly as president, having taken power with the return of democracy in 1999, but because Buhari and the section of the North he represented believed that power had to return back to the region. In settling for Obasanjo in 1998-1999, the intention of the Northern military class was for him to do 4 years as compensation for MKO Abiola. The Yoruba had become uncontrollably agitated and hand power back to the North. And not long after Obasanjo took power, it became clear that he was never going to leave it for anybody. This realization led to agitations. Criticism of Obasanjo's government was swift in the North, the climax of which was the Sharia crisis of 2000. To take power, however, the anti-Obasanjo forces in the North knew that ultimately it was about going to challenge him at the polls. Buhari emerged as the arrowhead of that challenge, and through speeches and actions that appealed to regional sentiments, demagogues, he built cult following that saw him win elections convincingly in the North right from 2003 until 2014-15. Buhari was a regional hero who believed he could become president by winning elections in the North and never thought seriously about campaigning in the South. However, in 2014-2015, the Tinubu-led Southwest gave him an undeserved national platform and through heavy media propaganda dressed him in the robe of a born-again Democrat. But old habits die hard. Once in power, Buhari did not hesitate to take off the borrowed garb of a nationalist and Democrat to put on his original robe of sectionalism, and even imputed a religion into it. He made it clear his intentions, and instead, he has completely consolidated power in the hands of the North. Buhari is usually a very resolute and persistent person. He's doubling down his nepotism. Shout Fulanization, Islamization, all you will. He will only look for a hate speech bill or social media bill to shut you up rather than re-examine his policy. Possibly, when Buhari is done with the country, if he has his way, no Southerner will or on the basis of election ever become president except at the behest of the North, by suppressing votes in the South and inflating figures in the North. The administration is only trying to establish a pattern, a dangerous pattern which supporters of his party in the South are evidently too blind to see. It is clear to the discerning where the president is headed, but the question is whether he would succeed. I had written elsewhere that the project would fail, said it several times. Ultimately, because Nigerians are too many to be subjugated, it would seem from the actions of some that there is an attempt to precipitate a national crisis with a view to using force to take over the country. But of course, this is a country of 200 million people, a total breakdown of law and order. It will take a miracle to have it again as one stable country for another person to take control. Now, it is a serious issue from what this writer has posited. And as you can see, Nigeria is so sectional. It is all about sectional aggrandizement. It's all about what region and which other region. And all of this is at the expense of the people. The people are not enjoying nothing from the actions or inactions of these political vultures that we have. That is what it is for now. What's your take about it? Drop it in the comment section. If you're not a member of this channel, let us grow together by you tapping on the subscription button and the red notification icon bell below. It will alert you whenever videos are uploaded. Thanks.